So in Bolivia, there were elections, I believe, on Sunday, and it appears that the winner of these elections is the Movement for Socialism party, Evo Morales' former party, right? Isn't that interesting, right? Now, for those of you that don't know, I've got this article from the BBC, but, it's the BBC. It's good, but it could be a lot better, right? It could be a lot better. And so, what happened over the last year is there was an election, and Evo Morales won the election, and the OAS, which is a US backed kind of like, it's an organization that's supposed to theoretically monitor elections. I don't know where they were during the Democratic primary of 2016 and 2020. Somehow they weren't monitoring those elections. It's called the Organization of American States. Now, they monitor every election in every country that's not the US, in Latin America, in American states. Somehow, again, they just did, I guess they missed the memo on the elections in the United States that were fraudulent. I'm not sure, right? But in 2019, they decided out of the blue there must be something wrong. A socialist has won re-election again in Bolivia. There must be something wrong. And Evo Morales offered to do he offered to do another snap election. If you don't like this election, let's do another in a couple weeks. All right, let's do it, right? And instead, the OAS conspired with the military to push Evo Morales into exile in Mexico. So that's what happened last year. Again, you got this famous tweet of Elon Musk saying, "We will coup whoever we want. Deal with it." That's Elon Musk's contribution to the discourse. But there was an election. A lot of people did not think that they would do another election, and I think that they were trying to do an election. And this is the thing, is like, I think they were hoping for results that would give them more auspices to take more control over the country. But the Movement for Socialism party has won election, and it's not Evo Morales, but I believe it is one of his former cabinet officials that has won. And this is Luis Arce. I'm not sure. Arce, maybe, perhaps. The polls indicate that Mr. Arce, or Arc. I'm so sorry. Please bear with me. Who is an ally of exiled former, this is of course from the BBC, of course, who is an ally of exiled former President Evo Morales, has won enough votes to stave off a second round. Mr. Arc has said he will form a government of national unity. There are deep divisions in Bolivia after last year's controversial election. That word is doing, controversial as a word is doing a lot of work, right? A lot of work in this article, which ended in allegations of fraud and the exile of Mr. Morales. In order to win outright in the first round, a candidate needs to obtain 40% of the vote and have a 10 percentage point lead over his nearest rival. Interesting that they put his there. We just had a female leader of Bolivia, and she was destroyed. Oh, only a his can get it. Like, I'm just joking around here, but what do the polls say? Exit polls carried out by the Jubileo Research Institution gave Luis Arce of the MAS party, the Movement for Socialism party, 53% of the votes, followed by centrist candidate Carlos Mesa of the Citizens Community Alliance with 30.8% of the vote. A pretty decisive victory, right? Okay, you can read the rest of this yourself, but I want to focus on this part here. Because again, this is the BBC. The BBC is okay, but they are relatively mainstream news, and I want to kind of just take in what they say. This is what people, that are in charge of media, that are very friendly with the government of the UK, are saying, right? About why is this country so divided? What's going on here, right? I gave you a primer. Let's see what the BBC has to say. The divisions date back to 2016, when then-President Evo Morales held a referendum asking Bolivians whether the presidents should continue to be limited in a number of times they can run for office. The result was no to abolishing term limits, but Mr. Morales' party took the issue to the Constitutional Court, which annulled the result of the referendum and scrapped the term limits. thereby allowing him to run for president in last year's election. Now, you can agree or disagree with that. Personally, I think term limits are a decent idea, but at the same time, assuming we have free and fair elections, people should be able to decide if their leader is good. I don't know. It's an iffy subject. I'm not on either side of the aisle when it comes to term limits, but they did go through a court process, and the court did say a certain thing, and that's relevant, okay? He was officially declared the winner, but protests erupted when the vote count was halted for 24 hours, prompting allegations of vote rigging. The protests continued for weeks, and both the head of the army and of the police joined calls for Mr. Morales to step down. Isn't that really interesting? Yeah, the head of the military just phoned up, Evo. It's like, yo, bud, um, there's a lot going on right now. It's like, but you really, I know I'm the head of the military, and, I was just talking to the guy in charge of the police, right? And I know we're friends, we're cool. Like, you can still come to, you can still come to my daughter's birthday party and everything, but that's fine. But I'm gonna have to ask you to step down. I know. I'm gonna have, like, that, like, oh yeah, it was just like a phone call. They just asked them, just, yo, do me a favor, Evo, we're still cool, don't worry, but you're gonna, like, I'm just gonna nicely, like, that's not, what? I don't know, I thought that was a little bizarre. He resigned on the 10th of November and shortly afterwards left for Mexico, from where he later moved to Argentina. Miss Añez, a right-wing senator, stepped in as an interim leader. I believe her party was one that got like less than 10% of the vote or something, so very interesting how that became a thing. But many supporters of Mr. Morales accused her of seizing power illegally and have described the aftermath of the election as a right-wing coup. At least that little nugget is in there. But again, this is how the BBC is reporting this stuff, and it's important to understand what mainstream press is saying. Who is Louis Arce? Arce? Whatever. While Louis Arce has been the favorite to win in the first round, it was not clear if he would win enough votes to avoid a runoff. Before running for president, Mr. Arce served as economy minister under then-President Morales. As minister, he oversaw the nationalization of Bolivia's mining, gas, and telecommunications industries, one of, again, the chief reasons why the U.S. would be interested in a coup of the state of Bolivia. Mr. Arce also helped to launch the Bank of the South, of a regional development fund for the infrastructure and social development projects. His main challenger, has been former President Carlos Mesa, who governed Bolivia between 2003 and 2005. His rule was marred by internal tensions about ownership of the country's vast gas resources. Before his career in politics, Mr. Mesa worked as a journalist and set up a television news production company, PAT, which he transformed into a national network. Very interesting. That would be like, I guess, maybe if like the CEO of Comcast was like, all right, I'm going in, right? Like, something like that. What about Evo Morales? This is the first presidential election since 2002 in which Mr. Morales has not been on the ballot. Interesting trivia. The 60-year-old former leader of the Coca Growers Union still commands considerable support in Bolivia among its indigenous populations and unions. He has been supporting Mr. Arce from exile in Argentina. In late September, Mr. Morales said that if Mr. Arce won, he would return to the country the next day. Speaking on Sunday as exit polls indicated a win for his protege, Mr. Morales said that Mr. Arce would return our country to the path of economic growth. So we have some good news coming out of Bolivia. That's fun. That's awesome. And I'm not sure how to pronounce the soon-to-be new leader's last name, but I'm sure I will be corrected at some point. And I'm looking forward to that correction. So, anyway, that's awesome. I'm sure that there's criticisms of these people, but again, you have to understand that if there is a right-wing U.S.-backed coup government in charge, literally, I think anything is better than that. And fortunately for us, and for the people of Bolivia, they chose socialism once again, or at least the movement for socialism. And again, I'm not a Bolivia scholar. I don't know all the pitfalls of the MAS party, but they seem a lot better than the alternatives, so I'll take that. I'll take that. Yes. Skeptical Manta says, what is to stop this new president being thrown out by another coup? I don't know. We'll see. Will they try it again? Maybe. That would be very brazen, but we'll see about that. We'll see.